Tracy, and today I'm going to be doing a video talking about sweet EDH cards under $1. I did this for Modern and someone requested that I do this for EDH cards too, which I think is really sweet. I'm probably going to be honestly doing a ton of this series just because there's so many sweet cards in EDH that are under $1. Some of these are like $1.25. Don't kill me, like I didn't think that 25 cents was a huge deal breaker, so I think there's like 2 cards that are like $1.25, but you know, the general idea is that these are, you know, pretty easy Magic cards to come by in terms of expense. So yeah, let's get into it. The first card I want to talk about, I really like this card. I think it belongs in a lot of different green EDH decks, especially like green stompy decks, and that is Thunderfoot Baloth. I don't think I've ever actually talked about this card on my channel. I talk about a lot of cards. It's like hard to keep track of them, but I have this card in Yisan, and I'm actually thinking, unfortunately, of taking that deck apart because I never play it, but that's a different story. But it's super good in like green stompy type of decks because, first off, it's a 6 mana 5/5 trample. Like, that's already freaking sweet. I love that. But then it's got Lieutenant, as long as you control your commander, which honestly, I look at this where you're running green, you're probably ramping, or you should be ramping a lot, so, you know, getting your commander probably is not really a problem. And then if you control it, this and other creatures you control get +2/+2 and have trample. Like, this card is like amazing, and it's actually just like 75 cents. Such a good card. Really incredible. I love that buff. I love the fact that all your creatures just casually get trample. Like, come on, this card is just busted. It is so great. I really like all the Lieutenant cards, honestly. I think they're all really incredible. Love this guy. Okay, another card that I really like is Blood Artist, and this card to me is just so sweet in like so many different decks because, like, even if you're running a deck and you're not running that much removal, like if you're playing in EDH, like, you know, especially if you play in like large groups of people, like this card can just be busted because, like, it's a 0/1, so it's like you're not really swinging with this card or anything like that, you know, it's not typically what you're doing. But whenever this or any other creature dies anywhere on the board, you know, you can redirect that damage, target player loses, and then you gain the life. This card is just freaking insane, belongs in so many different types of decks, which I really like. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Blood Artist. This is like one of my few life gain options in Tasigur, actually. It's just really great in especially EDH, because again, if you're doing like big groups of EDH, it's good. Or you're playing bigger EDH and you have like a ton of board wipes, then it's also sweet. Okay, also, if I'm shivering, I'm really freaking freezing. I'm so cold right now. Okay, EDH card that belongs in basically like every single EDH deck, and that is Mindstone. Okay, first off, it's like a 2 mana, gives you 1 mana mana rock. Like, that's amazing. But then second off, what I really like about this is like you pay 1 and you tap it to sack it to draw a card. What I really like about this mana rock versus a lot of other mana rocks is that the draw card option, because a lot of times if you draw this in the late game, it's still really sweet because it like gives you an additional card, or it's good in the early game because you get mana, but then in the later stages of the game when you don't need that mana, you can just sack it to like draw a card. Really good in like any sort of like artifact themed deck where you're like already like you're bringing artifacts back, or honestly just every single EDH deck. It's really, really solid. Love this kind of like mid-range type card. Okay, so speaking of mana and stuff, I'm a huge fan of like mana acceleration and removal. It's kind of my thing. I have his Burnished Hart. I really like this card. I know a lot of people have different preferences on how they like to do mana acceleration. Some people prefer like instants and sorceries. Some people like creatures. Some people just like, you know, mana rocks, such as like mana rocks that stay on the board, you know, whatever. Some people like a combination. Like, it just totally depends. I like kind of a mix. I'd say I would say a mix of things, but I do find myself kind of tossing Burnished Hart in every single one of my decks. What I really like this is that it's colorless, because, you know, if you're running like white, say you have like a mono white EDH deck, you know, it can be pretty hard to like have mana acceleration in that color. So you kind of lean towards artifacts to help you out, which is why I really like this. It's also just really good if you like have any sort of deck where like you want to bring your creatures back, or you get advantages when your creatures are in your graveyard, things like that. Now that I'm talking about this, do I even have this card in Tasigur? Because if not, I really need it in Tasigur because it'd go really well in there. I have just so much other mana acceleration is really what, really the issue. But, yes, so it's really sweet. it's kind of a lot for what it looks like, but like, because you're paying 6 mana total to sack it and get 2 lands, but again, if you're playing graveyard strategy, you want creatures in your graveyard, that's awesome. Or you get an advantage when creatures die, things like that, like Blood Artist, Synergy, things like that. And you get basic lands, you put them on the battlefield tapped, but I want to say how I look at this is, I look at a lot of cards, like, since your mana kind of, like, refreshes, like, after each turn, like, you pay 3 mana, but then, like, the next turn, or maybe a couple of turns from now, you pay 3 mana, so, like, I don't know. I guess some people look at it like it's 6, but I'm kind of like, it's more like 3 and 3, if that makes any sense. Yeah, and I like that you can do it end of turn, and you don't have to tap it, so you can always, like, block with it in defense, and then before damage is dealt, you sack it. Like, I love doing things like that, so, yeah, this card definitely belongs in a lot of different EDH decks. I really like it. Okay, I really, really love this card, and that is Beastmaster Ascension, and I have this in, Omnath because it's just busted, like, let's be honest here. This card is just so broken, and I think it's very underrated. Like, I think in any sort of, like, I'm not even just saying, like, a green stompy deck, like, just a deck where you're running green, where you have, like, a lot of creatures. This card's so dumb. A lot of people, like, actually misread this card and think that it's, you have to, like, wait a combat or something, or you have to, like, attack with 7 creatures, and then the next time they get, no, guys, like, if you're playing a deck and you have 7 creatures, which it's EDH, that's, like, that's not hard to do. Even if it's, like, tokens, it doesn't matter. Like, you have 7 creatures, and you swing with your 7 creatures, they immediately get +5/+5. Card is so stupid. I love this card. It's so great. Okay, this is another one of the cards that this is definitely more of a specific type of card, but again, I think it's so underrated, and that is Where Ancients Tread. I have this in Omnath, and I think in a decks where you're running, like, big, stupid things, like, this card is so great. Like, especially it's really good in Omnath because, like, I make so many 5/5s, and so, like, say I play, like, 2 lands a turn, like, that's 10 damage that I get to swing somewhere. You know what I mean? It's like, anytime you play anything with power 5 or greater, just 5 damage, and it goes to creature or player. This card, honestly, this, and there's the other one that does the same exact thing as this, a Warstorm Surge. Guys, like, they're completely busted. Like, yes, it's 5 mana, and it's, like, an enchantment, and, like, it's easy to remove, and, like, whatever, but, like, even if you can get, like, points of damage off, like, think about it this way. If your opponent's at 40 life, which, I mean, let's be real, they've probably gotten hit a couple of times, and you play, like, say that they're at 30 life, you play 5 guys, like, literally 5 big things, you know, that's 30 damage you can just redirect, or, like, they're planeswalkers. Like, this card just does everything. I love this card. Okay, this is one of my favorite counter spells, and I know what this card does, but I want to see, I hate when freaking it does this. It's because I'm exporting a video. My computer hates me when I export a video because it's like, let's go super slow, and I'm like, I don't have time for you. That is Plasm Capture. Gosh, I love this card. Do I even run this in any of my decks? I feel like I've taken this out. I think I run it in Tasigur, I'm pretty sure. It's kind of like my one counter spell because that's how I live my life. I'm a savage. But it's 4 mana and it's double, green, double blue. You kind of target spell. I like it because it's any spell. It's not just specifically, you know, whatever. And then what's kind of nice is looking at counter spells and not from a modern mindset, looking at them from EDH where, like, it's okay to pay 4 mana for a counter spell. But, beginning of your next pre-combat main phase, you add X mana in any combination of colors. This is, like, super important, by the way. To your mana pool where X is that spell's converted mana cost. I've blown so many people out with this card because, like, guys, it's so good. Someone, like, taps out for something super crazy, dumb, expensive. Like, whatever. I don't care what it is. You counter the spell. So not only do you get to counter the spell, but you get, like, a ton of mana in your mana pool. Like, listen, sometimes this is kind of a, I don't want to say a waste, because you still get to counter something, but sometimes it is, like, a wash. Like, you counter their, like, 3 mana thing, and you only get 3 mana, and, like, that can kind of suck. But sometimes you just get, like, a super big thing, which, again, EDH, people are sometimes playing, like, really, really big things. So, yeah, I'm a huge fan of this counter spell. I really like this card a lot. I accidentally closed my tabs by accident. Okay. This is a card that a lot of people actually don't like. Because it's a weird sort of mana acceleration, but that is Khalni Heart Expedition. It's 2 mana, it's an enchantment. Landfall, whenever you play a land, you get these counters, and then when you get 3 of them, you remove it and sack it, and you search your library for 2 basic lands, and you put them on the battlefield tapped. Now, here's the deal. Why some people don't like this is because, like, you realistically need, like, 3 lands to enter the battlefield. So if you play it at 2 mana, you need 3 lands to enter, which means you, that would be 5 lands that you would have. And then when you get to 5 lands, you remove these counters and get 2. So like, I understand it's kind of slower acceleration, but again, in Omnath or any sort of deck where you're just trying to ramp and you're trying to just like play like a ton of cards, like it's really, really sweet. Or if you're doing any sort of like bounce land strategy or like anything like that where you're, you know, if you want to be a savage and run like Amulet of Vigor bounce lands in your deck, like that's freaking sweet. So, but yeah, no, I do really like Khalni Heart Expedition. I wouldn't say it's definitely my favorite, acceleration, but I do really like it. Okay, we are almost done. This card I feel like just blows so many people out, and I really like it, and that is Impact Tremors. This is so good in like blink decks, or just like really, really, really good in blink decks. And really good in like decks where you make like a ton of dudes. Because like honestly, look at this, guys, where like I don't know, you're playing like goblins or something, and you're playing like, is it Kranko, and you like pump out like 20 goblins, you just get to do like 20 free things of damage. By the way, this card, with if you are running Warstorm Surge and Impact Tremors and Where Ancients Tread, I run them all on Omnath. It's really freaking sweet. It's like damage everywhere. It's like your Oprah, like you get damage, it's great. This card is really sweet. I love that it's each opponent. This card's awesome. Okay, the last card I want to talk about is a card that I really enjoy because I find a lot of times in some colors, especially if you're doing like a monocolored deck, card draw is kind of like weird. And sometimes, you know, some things like, you know, you have a card and it says like draw 1 card or something, and you're looking for like more ways to draw cards. And listen, if you know anything about me in Magic, you know that I really like to draw cards. So, I think this card is really important for those decks that struggle in that aspect, and that is Seer Sundial. It's a 4-mana artifact. It's got landfall. Whenever you have land ETB, you pay 2 colorless mana. You can just draw a card. Super basic, I would say, of a card, but I do really like it. Like I said, I think it works really well in like white in particular, because I find like white, I at least have a really hard time with card draw in I have Angels mono white, and I have really hard time with that, especially like white and red. I feel like just kind of have like a more difficult time, because again, I think a lot of those cards are like do something, and then draw a card, and I'm like, I want like more cards, you know what I mean? I want cards to do more things. So I do like this, that it's a permanent, that it stays in the battlefield, and whenever you play land, so it's like not even the first land you play a turn. So if you have like 2 lands enter the battlefield and you have nothing else to do with your mana, you're like, okay, sweet. You know, tap these mana and just like draw cards. Like, it's so sweet. I do really like this card. So, guys, that is it. That is it for EDH cards. I definitely want to do more of these, just because I think, again, there's so many cards that I could talk about. Limiting it to 10 was kind of hard, but I know I want to do more of these in the future. So, I'll see you guys in my next video on Tuesday.